might be good to go quickly directly to the next session in our agenda. It's about examples from the different 3 member states, from Germany, from Italy, and from Spain. Let me just start, but before doing it, let me just start with a short overview what we have in mind for the rollout strategies within our Skills Alliance. Next slide, please. So you saw yesterday already the framework of our blueprint. So we already worked about concerning technological and economic development, skills adjustments, and strategies and measures. But it's also much more about new alliances and leaderships, and let's say the sharing responsibilities, etc., and the implementation and rollout. This is very much in the focus in the next 2 years of our project. Next slide, please. I already showed this yesterday as well. So in the middle, you see what we want to do in our Skills Alliance, but this Skills Alliance should be embedded in different surrounding activities, programs, etc., concerning industrial symbiosis and energy efficiency. I won't go through all the different topics because I did this yesterday, just to mention that the KICs, the knowledge and innovation communities with relation to industrial symbiosis should be taken into account as well. And I think Ignacio will later emphasize this topic. Next slide, please. So what we have in mind, and we didn't start it, what we have in mind is an open coordination of the rollout via sectors and regions. So within an open coordination, we will have a cross-sectoral European level, very much dedicated to the Spire public-private partnership and the European communities of practice. Then we will have to focus on the sector associations and also on the level of companies, training providers, vet systems at the member states level. And to my view, hubs for circularity, industrial urban symbiosis, so the regional level, is the place where people learn and act. So this should be really also very much in focus. So now let's move to the short presentations from the different member states, and the focus has to be on what kind of industrial symbiosis and energy measures, skills and qualification adjustments are already in place in your countries, and could you please give us a concrete example? First thing is that I have to apologize. Inga Schad-Dankwart from the Federal Institute for Vocational Education and Training. She became sick this morning and could not find a substitution so far. So if you don't mind, I will go through the slides because I think it's very important. I know a little bit about it because of our former exchanges. So please do not take every word in gold or whatever it's called, but to give you a first impression of what's going on in Germany with the focus on hydrogen. Next slide, please. So please back. So hydrogen is seen as a future topic of VET in Germany in the context of energy transition, and the perspective from the Federal Institute for Vocational Education and Training, shortly BIBB, is the focus is very much on a regulatory perspective, and is based on a new started project, H2 Pro, it's called, started in October last year and is dedicated up to October 2023. And the main question there is vocational education and training fit for decarbonization? Next slide, please. So the fields of applications concerning hydrogen is first in the industry, and they are in the German case mainly on steel production and the chemical industry. And it's also placed part of infrastructure, that's one point, but also mobility and logistics. And as I said, infrastructure, heat and energy supply as well. Next slide, please. The main question is, are the given occupations are fit for a green future? So the main research questions are, which training occupations and further training strategies are of particular importance concerning hydrogen strategy? What additional qualification needs are likely to arise? And are the necessary qualification contents already anchored to a sufficient extent in the regulatory instruments, for instance, training curricula of vet schools, etc.? And what recommendations for regulatory and practice supporting measures are deriving from the identified qualification needs? So you see that the BIBB is not only looking at the purely at the regulatory, but also practice-oriented perspective. So how is it done? Next slide. The research design of this project is dedicated to a sector analysis. What is the current state of technology? What hydrogen projects do exist? Which occupations are affected? And are there already training and further education offers? So this it makes sense to integrate these results and activities also in our blueprint. This is done. This analysis is done by expert interviews. So a validation of the results of the sector analysis is done, early adapter identification, and relevant occupation discussion. Next step is the in-depth case studies, so interviews and workplace observations, to see if existing occupational profiles are matched with the qualification needs. And in the end, there will be an analysis and a report, so to come up with concrete measures for vocational education and training and the related curricula. Next slide. It's very much focused on the steel production. So if you know the European Steel Skills Alliance, where we are engaged, or I'm engaged in as well, you see a list here of occupations that appear in our in the ESSA representative selection as well. So it's concerning set up plans, planning, design, operate system, production, manufacture, and maintenance equipment. So designers, planners, operators, technicians, mechanics are these occupations and job profiles are under examination concerning the impact of hydrogen use in the companies. So the next steps will be, next slide. Next steps will be the identification of the occupations to be analyzed and the identification of changes in the specific activities. And there is a look on the differences between conventional production with CO2 focus and reduction plants, direct reduction plants using hydrogen there explicitly. So this is the first short overview. I hope I transferred the slides into my presentation in a well manner. Next slide, you can see that there is a website. If you go to the link, you will link to the website. Unfortunately, it's in German, but you also can contact the people from the BIBB to get further informations. Okay, if there are no direct comments also in the chat, then we can move to the next presentation to get another impression from Italy. This is done by Loredana di Sante from the CORALIS project. She works at CSM RINA in the steelmaking process direction, and in the last years she is actively devoted to the development of process for valorization and reuse of industrial wastes and byproducts. And she is now a senior scientist for industrial sustainability at RINA, and with reference to circular economy and industrial symbiosis project. So the floor is yours, Loredana. And please stay to the time schedule. Sorry to say this again and again.
Thank you, Antonius, for your introduction, and good morning, everybody. So please go on. Okay, it's a pleasure for me to have this opportunity to present our project CORALIS. CORALIS is a H2020 demonstration project that aims at energy and resources saving via industrial symbiosis in the framework of circular economy. There are 29 partners that work together in this period. And in the frame of project, 3 industrial parks will be implemented. Next, please. Please, next. So the first real demonstrators is in Spain, is Escombreras, and in Escombreras there are exchange based on chemicals, minerals, and water. Then next, please. The second one is in Sweden, Oganas, in which metals, farming, and energy are exchanged. Next, please. The last one is our demonstrator in Brescia, Italy. Next, please. Okay, the actors of Brescia Lighthouse are 4 industrial partners, 1 for the production of aluminium, 2 for steel production, and 1 is a foundry for pig iron production. Then we have a coordinator, that is RINA, a local facilitator, that is an industrial alliance, Confindustria Brescia, and then we have the University of Brescia for the modeling application. Next, please. Okay, in our demo case, we are mainly the exchange of waste material or byproducts from the 4 industrial partners involved in this example of Symbiosis. Next, please. Okay, the main benefit for our side is, of course, economical and environmental benefits. The reduction, first of all, the reduction of the total amount of wastes to be disposed in a landfill. The decrease of raw materials requirement as input of industrial process, and the enhancement of undesired wastes or byproducts to alternative resources, and the development and implementation of key technologies for the recovery of metal wastes, the analysis of potential for further waste reduction and utilization of waste heat, the characterization of the interaction among companies and their involvement processes, and the reduction of carbon dioxide emission and promotion of circular economy. But the main objective of CORALIS is to define the guidelines for the implementation of new industrial symbiosis initiative. So please, next. From this first experience, we understand that a very important role played the industrial association in the implementation of industrial symbiosis initiative. Why? Because the industrial association can understand the needed of the industry in an area, and then has the direct relationships and contacts with potential industrial partners, trusted networking role among companies, and is very important in our experience. Know the regularity framework and have a relationship with the public administration. Let me say that in Italy we have a strict regulation about the movement of wastes. So it's very important to have a strict contact between industry and the public administration. And in this case, the industrial association, in our case Confindustria, has a fundamental role. Then, of course, another important role is the Research and Development Center to support the industry to choose the best technology and the specific industrial processes. So please, the next. So, in our case, we understand that the job role and skill requirement for the industrial symbiosis implemented is in the area of regulatory the regulation and legislation is to understand the knowledge of the legislation relating to secondary raw material, which currently, due to its degree of complexity, does not facilitate the use of this material, and the legislation for the exchange of this residual between industry. Then another important point is the encourage and promote the early engagement of local regional entities, and then promote the development of interest groups for increasing lobbying activity, and set and follow the authorization process, especially for new solution. Next, please. Another important job role and skill requirement is the economic skill. In particular, the transition analyst that has to elaborate information regarding the cost, risks, and uncertainties of a changing social industrial system from a status quo to achieve the objective sets, and a figure of a transition manager that has to interact with stakeholders to elaborate the objectives to achieve a transition from the status quo, considering the feedbacks from the analytics. So next, but it's all from our side. Thank you for your attention.
Yes, thank you very much, Loredana. Lessons learned from your presentation is that the industrial associations play a central role together with the public authorities to make things happen. And the skills you listed here, it's maybe in a later stage we have a presentation from the Insight project concerning the industrial symbiosis facilitator development. I think that's also very much in line with this. One question: the role of the coordination is done by your organization. Is this a very important part, or how is this placed in this industrial symbiosis framework?
Oh, absolutely, it's important because we are a research center, fundamental. So we know the technology, and we know, of course, all the industrial partner that in this example is working for the development of this industrial symbiosis. So it's an important role, of course.
Okay, yes, thanks. I think that's very important to stay in line because of our rollout, but we can discuss this a bit later. I know we'll quickly move to Gemma Palasson from UNICIT. Since the beginning of 2000, she's in charge of the labor area in this Spanish Steel Association, UNICIT. And she is the Director of Organization, Human Resources and Quality, Secretary of the UNICIT Human Resources and Prevention of Occupational Risk Committee, also engaged in national decision forums and the European Steel Social Dialogue. So thank you very much for joining our conference. Gemma, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Tony. Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Tony, to invite me to participate today in this conference. I would like to present the activities that steel sector are developing about skills and qualifications in Spain. Next, Tony, please. First of all, I would like to explain what is my association. UNICIT is the Steel Production Companies Association of Spain. It was founded in 1968. It comprised all the manufacturers of flat and long steel products of Spain, and also producers of steel tubes, seamless and welded. UNICIT is a national and international benchmark for the Spanish steel industry, and is member of Eurofair and World Steel, among others. Next, please. But today I'm here to explain what are we doing in qualification and skill in the steel industry in our country. I try to briefly to show the different scenarios where we are working on that. Next, please. the last years, we are working on in 3 different scenarios. You know perfectly because maybe during the day before, some of my colleagues are present ESA project. ESA is a blueprint for a steel sector in Europe. And it's a project from 2019 until 2022. And also we are working joined and close to another blueprint, is a construction blueprint. The period of the development of this project is the same that is a project, and the name of this blueprint is New Strategy on Construction Scale in Europe. And finally, we are involved in Industrial Observatory of Metal that is in charge of, this institution is in charge of develop the agreed of National Metal Collective Agreement. Currently, this agreement is from 2021 until 2023. Next, please. Okay, I would like to sum what is developing the rollout in Spain about ESA. The first mention that I have to do is we are a very close team in Spain, because there are 3 companies in the project that are Spanish. The Spanish team, as I call, is ArcelorMittal, Sidenol, Celsa Group, and Deusto, and Unesit. And also I would like to mention World Steel, because the director of Steel Hub is from Argentina. So we have the honor to contact with Jorge Murat, because he speaks Spanish. So it's very it's easier for us than other countries to dissemination they still have because the language, as I told you. Our action plan in rollout in Spain is focused on dissemination of ESA project, share results of each work package, involve the Spanish ecosystem in ESA, improve stakeholders' collaboration, and to develop synergies with other blueprints. Until now, we hold a workshop at the end of the 2021, and I quite successful, because we had attendance for all the stakeholders involved in the project. And also we hold a dissemination webinar with good attendance, almost 70 persons, and we can show the results and the tools that are developing in ESA. But now we are working on continue with a workshop and with different meetings with public administration to implement the results of our blueprint. Sorry. Next, please, Tony. About Industrial Observatory of Metal, we have just to start with this study. First of all, I would like to explain what is this observatory. It's a bipartite institutions with national social partners of metals, employers, and unions. It's a permanent meeting forum and tool. A tool for the analysis and improvement of the sector competence, and is in charge of carry out the action agreed in the National Collective Agreement of the metal industry. The now one is from 2021 and 2023, includes to analyze the professional and the training needs of the metal industry in order to design a national training plan to cover this needs from 2023. Next, please. The phases and the methodology of this study start yesterday. The kickoff meeting was on the 3rd of March, and they show us what is the action plan. During 1 month, they are going to compile information across surveys, interviews, and previous sectoral reports. This is the most. Here, I'm going to share the deliveries and all the results and conclusions in ESA project to try to include in these studies. Also, at the end of the March, we will have another meeting where they show us and sharing the draft results with this with the surveys, the results of the surveys, interviews, and etc. Later, during 2 months more, they work on the final report and the conclusions with this professional skill student in the sector material, in the metal sector, and they want to present the result of the study at the first days of July, because this studio will be the initial studio for a training plan for metal training in Spain. And they want to develop the plan during the 2nd semester in 2022. We have to pay attention in one question, because now BIBB system are changing, are in the Spanish Parliament with a new regulation. So this kind of changes in the regulation can affect to our system. Tony, can you pass next? Yes. And finally, I would like
1 minute, please.
Yeah, yes. Finally, I would like to explain the action that we are developed with construction blueprint. As I told you, is developing in the same period that ESA, and the coordinator is the Labor Foundation of Construction, and this institution is in Spain. At the end of 2020, UNICEF had the first contact with them. Some of their contact, sporadic contact in 2021, until the beginning of the 2020, we've connected again, and we agreed with this next step. We are calling a meeting with partners before the end of the 1st September. We are going to obtain results obtained in both blueprints to establish synergies. And finally, we would like to design a roadmap to drive specific action involving Spanish public administration, especially to influence in BIBB programs and continuous professional training. Nothing more. I hope to sum up all these initiatives. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you very much, Gemma. This is a very good example. I especially interested in this state metal collective agreement. So it's not only steel, it's the metal sector as such. And it's a good example how to join forces across different sectoral blueprints, for instance, steel and construction. This is also, I think, very important for our rollout. May I ask Loredana to open your camera? Yeah. So may I ask you very shortly 1-2 questions? What do you think? How could these activities you mentioned, Gemma, ESA, and the construction blueprint, this industrial symbiosis blueprint? How could this combined with your activities, and in which way should we act? Maybe I start with Gemma first.
Yes, I believe that that a possible interaction could be in the definition of some guideline for the interaction, for the role of the industrial association inside this initiative of industrial symbiosis.
In which direction guidelines, how to manage things, or concerning skills to manage?
Concerning skills. Concerning skills.
Yeah.
Gemma,
what is your perspective on this question?
I in the same page. I don't have anything more to. I think it's important to connect all the blueprints in the skills and to analyze common skills to work together, because I think if we joined all the results in the skills, we have more force in each national level to implement the new skill that we needed.
Yeah, there are some examples also that Felix mentioned on his regional activities, that there are some examples where regions are very much more collaborating, and I think the blueprints could give a good input. They cannot manage it. That has to be done in the member states and in the regions themselves, but they can, hopefully they can push the process. Now, my last question, it's, let's say, a very difficult one, I think. What do you think, how could the VET system in your country be involved and benefit from such a skills alliance like ours? So that's, in Italy, I know it's very much regional oriented. In Spain, it's national and regional. What do you think? How could we get attraction of the VET systems?
Okay, we have, as you said, a different system, but let me say, referring again for the industrial symbiosis is important, the regional system. Okay, so to develop, also to increase some knowing about all this item.
Yeah. Gemma, what do you think?
I think it's very difficult to influence in the VET system, at least in Spain, because as you know, the system, the organization is different. So I think we have to collaborate. I think it's very important to keep the contact, the permanent contact between all the stakeholders at public administration, and maybe the main way to insight in the VET system is to focus that this blueprint get to manage the new talents in European unions about green skills that is needed, that they have to realize that these programs at Spire-Sais and ESA and all the blueprints are advantage the future. And so if they don't implement these skills in the VET system, finally our workers won't have employee in the future.
Yeah. Yes, thanks a lot for this reflection. I guess that Inga Schad-Dankwart from the BIBB could have been a very important or could have give us more insights, because we are very much working on the regulatory perspective of the vet systems and their strategies to update skills shorter in a shorter way, but maybe we can discuss, or we for sure we have to discuss this in our rollout activities at the national and regional level. So thank you very, very much for your contributions and your answers, very helpful for our rollout activities.